You sit here and crawl. Oh. And not a damn tear came out of your face.
You didn't do it out of sudden passion. You didn't do it out of anger. You did it because you're evil.
This is Brandon Tyrone Garrett, a man who thinks he can just murder his wife. Because for months, Brandon has been obsessed with Jesika Sullivan, an obsession that has led him to do the unthinkable.
She was found face down in a full bathtub. That's how she was found.
Now he thinks he can get away with it all, completely unaware that with each piece of evidence that he left behind, Brandon will be forced to tell detectives everything.
Are you somebody to see, or are you a monster? And at this point, I believe you're a monster. Brandon, you're the only one here that knows what happened. Was it on purpose or accidental?
On May 1st, 2019, 34-year-old Jesika Taylor-Sullivan's mother was panicking. She hadn't heard from her daughter all day, and her grandkids, who never missed a day of school, had failed to show up to their classes. Desperate for answers, she called Alvin Police Department in Texas to have them perform a welfare check. When they arrived at Jessica's home, her children answered the door and told them, "Mommy's sleeping." Jesika was a dedicated mother, a hard worker, and a loyal friend and community member. In no world would she sleep through the day, leaving her kids to fend for themselves. So the police pressed on, and when they entered the master bathroom, their heartbreaking suspicions were confirmed. Jesika had been strangled and drowned in her bathtub. After speaking with her family members, it became very clear who was responsible for her murder. Her husband of just 5 months, Brandon Tyrone Garrett. And if this doesn't tell you not to trust a dude with 3 first names, I don't know what will. The following footage was kindly provided to us by the Alvin Police Department.
So you know what the warrant is for, what you're arrested for, and what you're being charged with right now.
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Do you want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yes. Basically, while we're here, I do suffer from manic bipolar. We call that depression.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to. Can you have to speak up a little bit? Kind of hard to hear.
I do suffer from manic bipolar depression disorder.
Okay.
And over time, if I let people out, I don't treat it, I black out sometimes. And things happen that I actually don't, it happens out of nowhere, then I'm back to normal like nothing happened. It happens. I'm not excusing it. I accept fault that happened, and it happened on Monday or Sunday. Sorry, it happened on Sunday. My wife told me that I broke her loose. That's why I got the scratches on my arm. I broke my front door, and when I came to realize what was going on, I stopped. I let her leave and go to her mom's house, and that's what happened with that incident. It was provoked, and that's the last thing my wife and I talked about.
You said it was provoked?
Yes, but I'm not making an excuse.
Okay. What prompted all that to happen?
My wife she's very emotional, and she got into it with her sister because I'm one of those parents that's a strict parent. I don't my daughters, but if they're not doing something right, I'll yell and to get them to do it right. And her sister, who's way in California, doesn't like that. So my wife, she plays both sides of the fence. She's like, I don't want to, how you say it, show this person favoritism, but not show this person favoritism. It's like she's back and forth, so she's in a mental struggle of her own. And she gets into it with her sister. I had no idea at the time what was going on. I get out the shower, she's crying. I'm like, what's wrong? She's leave me alone. I was like, okay, that's fine. we're laying in the bed. She goes in the living room, and then she goes in the living room, and all of a sudden she's texting me all this nasty stuff. She's like, I don't want you no more. I don't want you no more, blah, 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 blah. Like, just going off in text messages. I'm like, what's going on? So I go in there and I try to talk to her. She don't listen. So I walk out. I leave and I walk outside. I walk around the complex. I'm actually on the phone with my mother-in-law. Explain to her what's going on. I don't know what's wrong with her, what she did.
And this was on Sunday?
This was Sunday, yes. I came to the front door. I came back to the front door. I walked probably like 30 minutes around, like over there. I come back to the front door. She locked me out. And I'm knocking so gently. I'm like, can you come open the door, please? And I'm not mad. I'm not vigilant or anything. Can you please open the door? And so now she's texting me instead of talking to me. Nope, I'm gonna sleep in the car. You're not coming in the house. So I just remember, I know what I did. I broke the door in and for locking me out. But I just don't remember doing it. But that's why the only thing I remember is once I finished. Oh no, I wouldn't say I finished. I would just remember her saying, babe. And I just like snapped out and I just backed up and I backed away from her. And I just let her get her keys. So she's like, understand, I'm sorry, I provoked it. I shouldn't have done that.
You know what instantly makes you look guilty? Well, aside from admitting to strangling someone like he's done here, it's claiming that your victim blamed themselves for provoking you and apologized. And on top of that, saying things like, I let her get her keys. I let her go to her mom's house. Now that Brandon has gotten his get-out-of-jail version of events out of the way, let's talk about what really happened in the previous incident he's discussing. On April 28th, Jesika called her sister in tears. She said that after an argument with Brandon, she feared for her life, so she had locked him out. Instead of going away to cool down, he broke the door off the hinges, stormed inside, and strangled her, almost to the point of unconsciousness. The violence was so severe that Jesika actually went to the hospital ER in the aftermath to make sure she didn't need any treatment.
So after that happened, give me timeline as far as where you were, what you did.
After that happened, she left and went to her mom's. I stayed at home for probably like 20 minutes. I can probably remember. 20 minutes, I got my car. I drove to where we used to live, which was on Hill Street behind here, in Foley Hill Apartments. I went over there and I actually laid in my car and I slept there. I had packed me a bag. And I slept there because I couldn't stay in the house. That's all I just remember. So I slept there and then I went to work Monday morning.
Where do you work at?
In Grace Point, at IDG Architects and stuff, architecture firm.
Okay.
I went to work and I'm distraught. I'm devastated at work. Her and I are in communication. Again, she's saying, I know it was provoked, but, and I keep saying, I was like, there's no excuse. I'm still saying, there's no excuse. There's no excuse for me for it to happen. If I could control it, it wouldn't happen, but that's still no excuse. But we were talking, and she's telling me what, her sister's telling her. Her mom is, her mom and I are texting each other, just give her a little bit of time. Like, her mom knows who I am, and she was with us when I went to my depressive stage. So she knows I'm not just some bad person. So she knows, and I came home early. I wanted to see her.
On Monday?
So, yes, I want to see her Monday. I just wanted to see her, and I know I know she was at home. So I came in the house and I was just like, I want to talk, but I'm not thinking. She's still afraid. She thinks that she's not able to rationalize what's going on. All she remembers is me being upset the day before. So she was sitting in the bed and I was at the door. And she's just like, leave. I'm just like, I just want to talk, that's all. I want to talk. I wasn't really doing, I'm just like, I just want to talk. She just happened to be on the phone with her sister. Her sister, I think she said her sister had already started calling 911. So anyway, go ahead and call 911 regardless. So when she said, I'm on the phone, she lifted the phone up to her ear. I was like, all right, I just want to see. Like I did, and I left. That's all I did. I left.
Once again, Brandon here is stretching the truth. On April 29th, shortly after Jesika returned from the hospital, she awakened to the sound of yelling. Once again, Brandon was trying to break into her apartment, and this time, he had a weapon. Moments after sending her sister this text, Jesika stopped texting back altogether. Panicked, her sister called 911, begging for them to respond to her sister's apartment. By the time police arrived, Brandon had fled, but Jesika was visibly shaken. Showing up threatening someone with a weapon is very different than calmly coming to the door to say, I just wanted to talk.
So last night I talked to my wife, which was Tuesday. She was on the phone, we FaceTimed each other, and she just kept saying, I'm sorry, it's my fault, I provoked you, I did it, our life is over. That's all she kept saying, our life is over, and I'm sorry, it was my fault. And I kept saying, no, it's not your fault. She's like, no, I love you, it's my fault, I did this to you. And I was like, I kept telling her, no, it's not. I was like, I'm going to check myself until I go to the hospital. And she just kept saying, my family's going to disown me because I don't want to let you go because I love you. And that's all she kept saying. And she was crying like a lot, crying like hard. And I was just like, I'm going to get help.
So you said you talked to her last night. What did you do? Like, so you said you stayed at a co-worker's Monday? Was that
Monday night.
And Tuesday night?
Yes. And when I woke up this morning, I just remember waking up like around early, like 3, and I just felt this cold feeling in my body, and I just texted her, like, are you okay? What's going on? And I got no response. Responses. I've been texting her all day. I've been calling her. I know her, so instead of me, I stopped messaging. I stopped calling her. So I was like, well, let me just check and see if she's at work. So I called Fletcher and Noel, said she wasn't there.
Called it?
Fletcher and Noel. She worked at the Olive Garden right here in Alvin.
Okay.
She's a to-go specialist. I talked to them on the phone.
And when did you talk to them on the phone?
This morning, like early, like after it was, because she has to be there at 9. Mm-hmm. But I remember, I think the first phone call around there was like around 10, because I checked to see if she's at work. When they told me that she wasn't there, they was just like, yeah, that's not like her. She does not show up. So my second option was, okay, I know that we had discussion about the kids having a perfect attendance at school, so I called the school and see if the kids went to school. When they told me the kids weren't in school, I knew something was wrong. I was calling her mom. Her mom was like, just give her time. So I'm just like, I don't know. And then this afternoon, I finally sucked it up. I was like, you know what? I just hope her car's gone. Because if her car's gone, it means she's not home. I mean, that she didn't do what I think she did. So I called Ashley in the office. Well, I just called the front office, but Ashley answered the phone. And I said, can you do me a favor? Can you please go check to see if my wife's car is in the parking spot, 1502. But she said, okay. And then I think that's when you called me back.
if you thought something was wrong, why didn't you drive to Alvin to check on her?
Because the last time I saw her in person, she was afraid. I didn't want to see that.
Right.
I was just afraid. I didn't want to make my situation that I like do, which is more. I didn't want to make it worse. So I was just trying to get other people to go over there, like, and not me, myself personally. I'll talk to them at work. I try to get them to send coworkers over to the house or something like that. But I've been calling other people to do it.
I understand that, but when you called the school and figured out the kids weren't there, which is, by your own words, not a normal thing.
Right.
Perfect attendance.
I thought that she took off and left. That wasn't wrong. But I didn't.
But still, I'm trying to wrap my mind around why you wouldn't. Okay, regardless of how she felt, you want to check on your kids. Because I know if I was in that situation and my wife was mad at me and, we had just gotten into a disagreement and she didn't want to see me, she's going to keep me from my kids. She's not going to keep me from checking on my kids. That's not going to happen.
Her words as far as the girls, because the girls are not allowed to mine. I'll say to my girl, but she was like, we'll get into it, and she'll end up taking it back. But she will always say, those really aren't. At the end of the day, they're not your kids; they're mine. So if I wanted to do something and take them, you have no, say something right. You have no legal guardianship over them. Even though we're married, you don't. They have fathers.
I understand that too. I have two stepchildren. I realize at the end of the day, my wife could basically do whatever she wants to. But I love those kids as well. And so if something was going on in my mind where I thought something may be wrong, regardless of her feelings about whether I was their father or not, or what role I played in their life, because I love those kids, I still check on them.
Brandon's calls the morning of Jessica's disappearance were a huge red flag for investigators and pretty much every single person he talked to. Because when you haven't shown any love, care, or compassion for your wife, when you suddenly pretend to, people are rightfully thrown off by it. At 6 a.m., Brandon texted Jessica's mother stating that Jessica wasn't answering her phone, and he was concerned. Then, in the early morning, Brandon called the receptionist at the children's elementary school to ask if the girls had been dropped off. He told her he was concerned because Jessica had been talking about harming herself the previous night. The secretary, who hardly even knew Brandon, immediately thought this info dump was suspicious. And so did Jessica's boss at Olive Garden, who got not one, not two, but 3 calls from Brandon, feigning tears and asking if she had shown up to her shift. Needless to say, if you're going to play the part of a concerned husband, maybe make sure you're concerned about your partner's general life before the murder, and not just the morning after.
At any point during all this, if you were concerned about her welfare, why didn't you contact the police department?
The only off, and I was thinking about that too. Officer Hill, I was thinking about calling him, but like I said, I didn't know what was going on, and I didn't want to send them to a panic. So I'd rather have somebody else go over there, because Officer Hill was I was supposed to let me know when there was a warrant issue, because I had no idea that the warrant had been open. I had no idea, but he told me that he was going to, so I didn't want to make it seem like I'm stalking her.
Detective Jackson asked you just a second ago if you were being completely honest with everything that you'd said. And obviously there's a reason that we're talking with you. And I know that you dealt with law enforcement before, you dealt with the court system before, correct? Dealt with juries.
This isn't Brandon's first rodeo, because you know what he's been arrested for before? In 2007, he strangled his girlfriend next to a bathtub until she passed out. Not just once, but 3 times.
So, your wife, she's going for an autopsy. You know what that is, right?
Yes, sir.
So the medical examiner, they're going to do all kinds of tests on her, blood tests, DNA tests, toxicology, and they'll come up with a determination for the cause of death, manner of death. So if they come back and they say it's homicide, who do we need to look at?
It shouldn't be a homicide.
Why shouldn't it be?
I mean, not a homicide. I mean, that's all I can say is I'm going off of what the sources are looking at, and I didn't do anything to her. The last biblical thing I did with her that I'm not proud of, I'm not bragging about it, was Sunday. And I tried to talk to her on Monday, and the way she looked at me and the way she was afraid of me made me I wanted to give her some space to cool down. I wanted her mother told me the same thing when I was trying to reach her this morning. Give her space to cool down.
Well, if it wasn't a homicide or if she wasn't killed by someone, then what happened?
I don't know what she did. I wasn't in the house. I asked her, how was she found? What happened? I don't have any knowledge of anything. So I couldn't give you an answer to what she did. I just know that she was upset the last time I talked to her.
Well, she was found face down in a full bathtub. That's how she was found. She didn't just fall in that bathtub. She didn't put herself down in that bathtub.
Face down in the bathtub.
Her face was in the bathtub and the other half of her body was outside of the bathtub. This is not my first rodeo, no, it's not yours. But there's things that we look for that are indicative that someone's not telling us the truth. So far, man, you've been spot on almost every one of them.
Now I'm being blamed for this. That's why I was like, when you told me that you come and have questions, I was like, what? How would you there?
Well, Brandon, you're married to her, and you're gone. I'm getting information that you're making some strange phone calls that you normally don't make. When I do talk to you on the phone, you tell me you're going to be here. After you find out that your wife's deceased, and then you drive around for another 5 hours. And you tell us that you were afraid. If I had just found out that my wife was dead, I would have been there as quickly as I possibly could have.
When I first got, I was on my way, when I got back to my car, I was on my way out here as soon as I possibly could.
Hey man, Brandon, stop. Stop feeding us the lines, playing games. Detective Jackson is right. Any normal person that found out their wife was dead, warrant or not, whether or not you knew you had a warrant or not, you're still going to go to the police and try to find out what the hell happened.
I should have
Your wife
came and not called nobody. I should have just came.
But instead, you did the complete opposite. You went the other way because we watched you on the map. You went away from your wife. You've been planning this all day. need to call this person. I need to call that person. I need to say this. I need to do that.
Brandon tried to lean into the blackout defense and is clearly trying to use his mental health to mount an insanity plea. But the fact that so much planning took place before and after the murder completely contradicts that. If you're capable of trying to cover up a murder after you do it, you're capable of standing trial.
I have not seen you shed one tear since you've been in here, dude.
Crying all day. I'm dry. My mouth is dry. Everything is dry.
Yeah, well, your tear ducts aren't dry. You're showing no emotion. The only emotion that I've heard you share with us today is why you're on the phone. About 90% of that I didn't believe. So that's what you're going to stick with? I'm going to recap it for you. You stayed with a friend last night. Last time you saw her was Monday. You called everybody but her to check on her.
That part not true.
You never came to town to check on her, yet you were so worried about her. And when the police finally called you, told you that she had died, you just drive around in circles instead of coming to talk to us. That's what you're going with. That's what you want to go with.
My cousin told me not to go and don't go alone.
Brandon, how old are you, man?
34.
34. You let other people dictate what you do in a situation where your wife is deceased. You know your wife's deceased. Don't. That doesn't make sense to me, dude. You're sitting here telling me how much you love your wife and that you would never hurt her, and maybe you would never intentionally hurt her. But everything you're telling me in the way that you acted today, it doesn't make sense.
What witnesses are telling us, what your cell phone's telling us, tells us you were at that apartment last night.
It doesn't make sense for you to sit here and lie to us.
Brandon still hasn't truly taken hold of any of the bait detectives have thrown at him, in spite of the mountains of evidence against him. A few hours later, he's brought in to speak to a new detective. And he's not just throwing out bait, he's chumming the waters. And what do you know? Miraculously, Brandon starts remembering things from his blackout. Amazing how that happens, isn't it?
So tell me about Sunday night again then. What happened? You went out to the convenience store and
Yeah, I was
you called your mother-in-law.
My mother's on the phone.
That's Joyce.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. I was talking to my mother-in-law on the phone, and I had got a text message from Jessica saying, I'm locking you out. Because she saw me far away. She saw me on the phone. I guess she assumed I was talking to a female or something. And I told her, I was like, babe, I wasn't on the phone like that. I was like, I didn't tell her I was talking to her mom. And she's like, yes, you were. She's like, well, just stay outside. And I was just like, all right. So I sat on the porch for a while. And because I had my key, I unlocked the top lock and like our door handle. The doorknob has a lock in it, and one key locks both of them. So I unlocked that, and when I opened the door, the deadbolt top was locked, and she was on the couch. And I know that now because she had told me she was sitting on the couch watching me the whole time. And she was like, you weren't even mad when you was knocking on the door. She was just like, all of a sudden, like, I was knocking on the door, and all of a sudden, this is what she told me I did. I was knocking on the door, I sat down. I knocked again, and I sat down. And then she next thing I just rushed the door. And I don't remember doing that. I remember just sitting on the patio on the porch. And She said I just forced the door, and that's how I hurt my arm. I broke in. And she said I saw her, and she just said I started choking her, and then she said my name, and that's when I snapped out of it. I don't remember any of that.
You said that the key unlocks the bottom lock and the deadbolt?
No, the deadbolt doesn't have a key to it. The deadbolt was locked.
And it's just from the inside,
Right.
You can't key it from the outside.
Right, you have the deadbolt, and you have the regular lock on the door, and you have the doorknob lock. The key opens the regular lock and the doorknob lock. And she had all the locks locked.
She had all locked. You unlocked the deadbolt on the doorknob, but that top one was locked.
But the top deadbolt was still locked. And I was thinking that she had had it open, and she had told me.
And she told you did what after that? But she did what?
She told me I broke in the door.
How did she tell you you broke in?
Oh, when we talked on the phone, she said I used my shoulder and I broke in the door.
Okay.
She said I hit the door like twice and I broke through the door.
And then what happened?
She told me, but I obviously I did.
Did y'all go to the ground or?
I don't know. She said we were on the couch. I don't know. Yeah, that's what she said.
And then what happened?
And then I guess when I snapped to, she was like, "You could just go to my mom's house," and I was like, "Okay." And I gave her a wallet, and because her wallet was on the kitchen counter. That's where I was at. I gave it to her. She woke the girls up. I took her key off the hook. I gave it to her. Then she left with the girls, and I didn't try to stop her because I wasn't sure what happened. I didn't know what happened, and she left, and then that's it. That's the last time I saw the girls.
Like you said, you stayed and she left. How long did you stay? All night?
No. I stayed for about 20 minutes. I had packed. That's why I packed my bags up. My bags been packed. I stayed for about enough time to pack my bag, and then I drove out. And
So why did you decide to leave?
I didn't want to sit there. I was looking at the door. I was staring at the door broke in the living room. And I was just like, I can't be here. I don't know what happened, and I couldn't be there without my family. I felt like at that particular moment when she walked out, I was like, I just lost my family. I just lost the love of my life and my kids. And they just walked out, and I just couldn't sit there because I couldn't wrap my head around what happened.
Playing the victim when a detective has DNA, fingerprints, phone records, surveillance cameras, and a motive backing you up as the murderer is about as ridiculous as it gets. Or so you'd think. But somehow Brandon continues to try and make more and more elaborate excuses. Thankfully, this cop isn't letting it fly. And we love it.
So,
Well, let me just tell you this. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry that you found yourself in this position. I can't go so far to say that you're a victim of circumstances, but I wish that we weren't here. I wish you weren't here. I wish that Jessica was still alive. That's how I truly feel about all of this. But unfortunately, I got to be involved, and we got to be involved just by the nature of what's taking place. Our job is to do a couple things, and one of them is find out what happened. And if we already know what happened, then we got to find out why it happened, and how it happened. And a lot of times, if we know what happened, we know how it happened. But sometimes the hardest part is finding out why it happened. Okay, so you telling me everything that happened Sunday is getting us almost there as far as what happened Sunday. In those regards.
yeah,
But it's not complete. Okay, I know enough about bipolar. I know enough about depression we really don't black out. We don't really fly in a rage. People use that expression a lot, and when they use that expression, it doesn't really mean what people interpret it to mean. Okay? Sometimes when people black out, they basically mean that they did something, they were aware they did it, they just didn't have any control over themselves. So they use the expression blacked out. And so when you sit here and tell me that you blacked out, I've got to take that with a grain of salt. You know what I'm saying? I can't, I don't know, for lack of a better term, I can't accept that explanation. You see what I'm saying? You don't have to answer to me, but you know eventually you're going to have to answer to a couple people. One of them might be a judge, one of them might be a jury of 12 people, but the other one's definitely God. Do you agree?
Yes.
Do you believe in God?
Yes, sir.
I do too. So we know sometime in our life, above anybody and beyond anything else in this world, that's one of the people we're going to have to answer to. But the first immediate thing is going to be a judge or a jury. And there's enough experts out there that know a lot more about this kind of stuff than I do, that are not going to accept the expression or the explanation of blacking out. Now, if you did something you had no control over your emotions, that's understandable. But to say that you don't remember any of it, nobody's going to buy into that.
Well, that particular part, I'm not omitting that. That's what basically got us. I mean, that's what the warrant and stuff was for.
Right.
I'm not.
I know you're not denying it happened, but to say that you blacked out and you don't remember anything, that is not the truth.
Well, I don't remember exactly.
Okay, hold on. I'm trying to explain to you that that's not the truth, and you know it's not the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help you God, and you know that I know that it's not the whole truth. You see what I'm saying?
I don't have an exact account of what happened. The only thing I remember from it is.
Well, let me give you some help real quick, okay? There's no way she could have known that you shouldered the door.
But she said she was looking out the blinds when I was doing it.
There's no way she could have seen that you shouldered the door, okay?
And my shoulder hurts, so.
Well, that's the only person that knows the shoulder hurts you, right?
One of the most tragic parts of the case is the fact that Jesika was so close to escaping Brandon. The night before her murder, she spoke at length with her sister about having the marriage annulled. In fact, she was planning on leaving her home in the meantime to go into hiding somewhere safe, where Brandon wouldn't be able to find her. Sadly, she never got the chance.
They interviewed the girls. They took the girls to a place that's called the Child Advocacy Center, and they took them and interviewed them yesterday at the Missouri County Child Advocacy Center. Now, there are some discrepancies in some of the things that we've already found regarding Tuesday night. This is the night before you turned yourself in here. This is the night of the night prior to the morning that we found Jessica's body. Okay? And some of the discrepancies are the fact that I think you told Detectives Jackson and Kelly that you weren't at the apartment. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I need you to look at me eye to eye.
I wasn't there. I wasn't at the apartment. You're talking about out here in Alvin, right?
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Earlier I asked you about your phone. You know, has anybody ever been in possession of your phone? And no. Anybody borrow your phone? No. Anybody use your phone? No.
No, sir.
Because your phone hooked up with the Wi-Fi in that apartment Tuesday night.
Tuesday night.
Your Alexa thing works off the Wi-Fi that y'all had with your cable.
No, it's the Alexa. That's my.
No, I'm not. But I'm just saying Alexa works off of Wi-Fi, and your phone connected